in the beginning, there was essentially nothing. And then something happened, and then everything was. And one of the things that scientists talk about, and it's a very, how can I say it, very topical. It's topical among scientists these days, and that's the subject of antimatter. And we know that there's matter in the universe. We can detect matter. We can quantify matter. We can measure matter. Matter has weight. Matter has gravity. Matter has density. Matter has electromagnetic. It has weak forces, strong forces, nuclear forces, all of these different things. And we can quantify matter. Antimatter, on the other hand, we cannot quantify. And I think that there's something to that, because when we look in our natural circumstances and we look at light, you know, it says in the beginning, God said light be, and light was. And this light filled the darkness. You can measure light. There is a measurement of light called lumens. And lumens measures the intensity of light. Light also can be measured by its wavelength and the colors that are present in different types of light. But you can't measure darkness. There is no measurement for darkness. Darkness simply is, but darkness is displaced by light. And when I think about all the things that are going on in the world right now, and I have to admit that amidst all of the darkness, I think that lately maybe I've been contributing to it. Because I'll be honest, I don't like the current the current presidential administration, and this is not a referendum on that. But I've been very vocal about ridiculing it or decrying it, and at the end of the day, that's not really projecting light. So what I want to focus on today is, how do we recognize and project the light? And one of the things that's, there were some experiments done around the turn of the 20th century because it was long considered that light was simply a wave. In other words, it was a type of energy, and it had a flow, and it could be measured by its frequency and all of that. But come to find out that light is also a particle. So here, light has, how can I say it, sound, but it also has substance. And that's what we are. We have substance. We are physical beings in this space, which makes us particles. But we're also spirit, which makes us a wave. And also, from our natural selves comes the resonance of our spirit, the resonance of our aura, and all of that. And that's our light. But then our helping hands, when we touch people to let them know that they are loved, and to acknowledge their physical presence, that we become a particle as well. And why is this so important? Because, you see, our template, our forerunner, our paradigm, Jesus, came to show us that we are both particle and wave. See, one of the things that I want you to understand is that most spiritual books, most holy books, are books about phenomena that people observed and they wrote it down to explain it the best way they could. And for that reason, excuse me, I don't look at the Bible as flawless and inerrant, or, that it's the ultimate authority on anything. It really literally is just a book, but it's a book about phenomenon, both natural and supernatural, that mankind experience, written at their level of understanding. Now, this is important because our level of understanding is greater today than it has ever been. There are more things known about more things today than there, well, depending on who you ask, I say that there ever has been, but there's a lot of knowledge also that that is lost. The library in Alexandria in Egypt was burned by Alexander the Great, and we have no idea how much knowledge was stored there. So maybe my statement is not entirely correct, but if you look at what we know today versus 100 years ago versus 200 years ago versus 300 years ago, in other words, to get to this knowledge that may be greater than what we have now, you have to go way back in the ancient times. So we have all of this knowledge, and yet we rely on ancient texts to determine how we live. And if you think about it, that's really, how can I say it? That's not just counterintuitive, that's counterproductive. Because the things that were known in the time of the Bible don't even hold a candle, speaking of light, to what we know today. What we know today is vastly superior. What we know about astronomy, what we know about physics, what we know about chemistry, what we know about medicine, what we know about everything is vastly superior to that. And the number of experiences that are recorded, because see, whenever you record an experience, you're collecting data. And you're making data points. And it's like, if you look at it on a graph, right, you plot all these points, and eventually you begin to see some patterns develop. Well, the more data points you have, the smoother those patterns appear to be. And what happens is that now you're able to make smoother decisions because you have more data points. And you're able to make more sense out of the data that you're getting. And, basically your responses are not so herky-jerky. You see, if the data points provide a smooth flow of information or a smooth flow of reference points, then you can kind of guide yourself along that. But it's like video games. When video games first came out, they were very pixelated. You could see every pixel, and the pixels were huge, so everything looked kind of blocky, right? And I remember playing video game football on the, I forget, it was a Coleco game system. And at that time, that was like the best Coleco Activision, that's what it was. And it was the best football game that you had at that time. But now today we have Madden 2020. And you have all of this ray tracing and basically lifelike modeling and all of this. And it's vastly superior to the original. Now, for those of us who have played the original, we, harken back and we might have fond memories about playing the old game, but it's not the same as the game that we play today. And here's the thing, we have to adopt this mindset that says that we're operating with a better understanding today. And that better understanding Another thing that I want to talk about is like matter and antimatter. What people often do in juxtaposing physics, quantum physics with spirituality is that they say, okay, matter and antimatter, light and darkness, and they juxtapose that with things spiritual, and so they say good and evil. And let me just share this with you, because actually evil as a construct doesn't exist. Even though you think you might be able to measure evil, something is more evil than something else, that's not exactly how it works. Evil is simply the absence of good. And basically, the only thing that is good is the stuff that everything is made of, and that's love. There is nothing physical that exists that's made of evil. Everything is made of good because everything is made of love, because God created everything. And God is love. It was the raw material that she had when she stepped out into the void and spoke something and created everything. Love was the only raw material available. That means everything is made of love, and therefore everything is good. But because you have this dualistic nature that's present in quantum and quantum physics and string theory and all of that, that people think that applies to the spiritual world. And this is the challenge, y'all. This is the challenge, is trying to learn to see everything as good. Now, let me give you an example. Every human being is loved and valued, is precious in the sight of God, and is precious in the greater construct of humanity. However, not everybody is either capable of or qualified to be a physician. Being a physician is a very demanding, academically rigorous profession. And there are some people that can muster up the energy, the fortitude to operate in that profession, but not everybody else is. And that's the thing that we have to understand, is that even though everybody has a broad range of abilities, that broad range of abilities will be in a certain how can I say it, a certain focal area. It doesn't, in other words, I myself am not qualified to be a physician. That's not what I'm qualified to do. And this, how can I say this? Well, I'm not qualified. And the thing is that when we think that, okay, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, well, you can do all things that are within the realm of your potential. And everybody has a range of potential. But I'm trying to think of where I'm going with this. I'm actually a little sidetracked. Please forgive me. Like I said, I was feeling some kind of way this morning, and a lot of stuff going on. But let me get back to the whole light and darkness thing, because I don't want to ramble off on a tangent, and then somebody posts, oh, Derek was telling people to drink bleach. Oh man, forgive me. Anyway, light and darkness. We need to see everything in light. And because we are light, and Jesus did tell us that we are the light of the world, that if we are light, then that means that our light should be present and prevalent in everything that we do. And that means that if you can shine light on something that allows the good to be seen in something, then that's a great thing. And that's what we should do. However, if we try to shine a light on something that we personally don't like, that we personally don't think it should be that way, then we're not shining to reflect the greater good. At that point, we're shining for our own shine. In other words, to put forth our own opinion. And we don't want to do that. And like I said, this week, guilty. And honestly, I want to say I would like to cease and desist. I like to stop doing that, but I can't say that I will, because I'm human. And there are things that, when I see something that bothers me, or if I see someone that's being hurt, or if I see someone that's being abused or something, I have to say something. This is just how I'm wired. But the question you have to ask yourself in these situations is, what is the end result of your bringing this to light, as you say? In other words, is someone going to be edified from this? Is someone going to be better from this? And if they are, then by all means, shine the light. However, sometimes that when you shine your light, it causes others to be repelled. And if that's the case, then you should stop shining that light. Not every battle is for us to fight. And an interesting thing that scientists say about matter and antimatter is that if they come into contact with each other, that there's annihilation. So that means that if you are trying to infiltrate darkness to produce your version of the light, something nihilistic may come from it. That's not a good thing. Because at the end of the day, we should be creating. We should be encouraging. We should be edifying. Because we represent both the wave and the particle of light, that when we come into a situation, we should displace darkness simply by being, not by trying. A candle doesn't try to displace darkness. It just does. It doesn't ask whether the light or whether the darkness needs to be displaced, and it doesn't try to judge the darkness. It just simply illuminates. And if light were to force its way into a situation, I don't think that physically, or from a physics sense, from a quantum standpoint, that would be a good thing. I just don't. And that's something that this is a hard lesson, because I'm sharing some. This is a moment of transparency for me, because like I said, I've been out trying to shine the light of what I think on things instead of just being light. Now, your mileage may vary. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to get this perfectly. I'm going to try. I'm going to try to do better. But, eventually, we're human. We fuck things up. And that's just kind of how the Tootsie rolls, if you will. But the important thing is to remember that in the beginning, before there was anything, before started, before anything got going, before any bang was big, there was love. And when all of this is over, all that we understand in the physical universe, when that ends, that there will be love. And more than anything else, I want to be both a wave and a particle of love. When someone unpacks me to the quantum degree, that when the last fold is unfolded or the last slice is sliced and that the last particle is observed, that would be love in me. There are things in this world that definitely can be done better. There's a lot that we miss, and virtually all of that we can chalk up to being human. But when those things happen, I think that it's important that we be the light that's manifest in the darkness. We should be the light that simply emerges in the midst, not forces its way in. And that's a lesson that I have to learn. And I hope that, there are some people that get this better. But at the end of the day, when you get to the quantum level of everything, I think that when we transition from that which is time-bound into that which is eternal, that we'll find that everything, and I mean everything, was love. So let your particle, your touch, your presence, let that be love. And let your wave, your thoughts, your heart, your speech, and your presence, yeah, I said it twice, be love. And that's pretty much all I have today. I ask that for my friends out here that you send positive vibes and joyous, peaceful, pleasant thoughts my way. And like I said, I'm gonna try to do better. But I want my focus, my being, my presence, my aura, for that to be love. And if I'm not showing love, then I've become irrelevant. And that's not how I want to be. Every being in humanity is created to be relevant. It's created to be important. And that's it, man. That's pretty much all I have. Just for the record, the hot mic, that's going to be on hiatus for a minute. We had a death in the family last week, and that's been a challenge for us. So we won't be doing the hot mic. Not really sure how long it'll be before we get back to it. But Angela's okay, and just need to keep her family in prayer. And I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. So that's what I have. Just want y'all to know that I love you. Namaste. I see the light and the God in you. Peace.